1 year of my life I was deeply into Scientology. I did the basic courses, visited the church and its events, talked a lot with other Scientologists and seriously considered joining. In the end, I didn't. Even though it wasn't easy, I walked away from it. This is the story of how and why Scientology wasn't for me. When I first got in contact with Scientology, I was a vulnerable, melancholic young adult who wasn't so sure of himself and his place in the world. I realized I was gay but didn't know how to deal with it. I realized I had big dreams but didn't know how to fulfill them. My life was full of questions when someone offered me to take a free personality test. Okay, I took it. Afterwards, a sparkling woman at the Scientology building suggested that I read the book Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health, to get some insight into my problems and ways to fix them. What I read in this book confused me in many ways. On the one hand, it passionately promised me a solution to what was ailing me, and this gave me hope and raised my spirit. On the other hand, I felt alienated. Not only were the concepts, the jargon, the ideas so different from what I'd ever seen before, there were also passages that made me feel awkward. At the time, I was a closeted gay teen trying to reconcile with who I really was, stripping away all those horrible layers of self-hate. I read what homosexuality was according to Scientology leader L. Ron Hubbard. I was painfully surprised to find out that Hubbard thought homosexuality was a form of perversity and that homosexual men and women should be considered perverts. Not only that, but that they also should be considered a danger to society that needed to be eradicated. The origin of this so-called perversion would be found in prenatal conversations between the parents of the unborn child, conversations of a sadistic or masochistic kind. I remember seriously pondering the idea of my parents talking dirty about hurting each other while I was in my mother's womb, but couldn't imagine it. Not only couldn't I picture my parents really saying those kinds of things, but I also couldn't connect to the S&M, torture and abuse theme that Hubbard introduced. It was so contrary to everything I felt was true about my sexuality. Wasn't this Scientology hoopla all a bunch of outdated, prejudiced pseudoscience or science fiction? It was because of the people working at the local Scientology organization that I went on with it. Really nice people I felt I could relate to, who were intelligent, creative, funny and enthusiastic, convinced me to take courses, to buy more books, to participate in Scientology events and so forth. I did it. Even though I never really became a member, I studied all the basics and spent a lot of time at the organization. My being gay and Scientology being anti-gay always made me keep some reserve. I was invited to join at a higher level church abroad, but it never happened. Whereas I knew the other people were genuine in their passion for L. Ron Hubbard's teachings, I could never join them 100% because of this part of my identity. Finally, when I gained more strength to accept myself for who I am, I quit Scientology. When they did an e-meter session with me, which was basically a lie detector test to find out why I was leaving, I said to the auditor I had objections to Scientology's ideas on homosexuality. For what reason? Well, I knew someone who was gay. I knew someone. I didn't tell them that person was me, but in fact it was one of my first indirect moments where I came out. This way, being gay saved me from the clutches of Scientology. Looking back, I feel so fortunate I reached a level of self-acceptance during my introduction to the cult. Unfortunately, I know that there have been, and maybe there are still, gay people within Scientology who feel duped, discriminated, doomed. From what I've heard, some young gay people within Scientology have even committed suicide because of their sexuality, including L. Ron Hubbard's own son. If you're gay, it seems Scientology can break you in a major way. unless you break with Scientology because you know you deserve so much better. In the end, Scientology wasn't for me. In my experience, it doesn't work, it doesn't deliver, it doesn't give you freedom or happiness or enlightenment. What appears to be a volcano is nothing more than a hollow space filled with empty promises, a trap that's not only a waste of time, energy and money, but also a potential threat to your physical and mental health. Stay free. Keep thinking for yourself. Seek truth, shed light, and Scientology will implode, crumble, vanish, and self-destruct.